When love is tested by secrets and trust is shattered by lies, one choice can ignite a storm that changes everything. Clara Hensley had not expected a package that evening. It was the middle of a quiet Wednesday, the kind of day that drifts by without a sharp edge. The air outside carried a cool bite, a whisper of rain on the way. She and her husband, Daniel, had just finished a plain dinner, the kind neither of them would remember a week later. Clara was wiping the countertop while Daniel rinsed plates, humming under his breath, when the doorbell cut through the stillness. A cardboard box waited on the doorstep, ordinary in appearance, wrapped in brown with a neat shipping label and a cheerful birthday sticker placed slightly crooked at the top. Daniel carried it in without hesitation, setting it on the table as if it were a delivery of socks or kitchen towels. He sliced the tape with casual care, peeled back the flaps, and pulled out a velvet box, sleek, black, and heavy in his palm. He smiled without looking at her. "Your parents sent me something." Clara turned from the counter, dishcloth still in hand. "Did they?" Daniel opened the velvet case partway. "A watch. Looks fancy." Her gaze locked on it, and an unexplainable chill passed through her. The weight of the moment was sudden, her body responding before her thoughts could catch up. Her voice came low and sharp. "Don't touch it." Daniel looked at her, confused. "What? Why?" "I mean it," she said, stepping closer. "Please, don't touch it." His brow furrowed. "Clara, it's a gift. From your parents." She reached for the tea towel hanging from the oven handle, wrapped the box without letting her bare skin meet the velvet. Even through the cloth, she could feel the wrongness. Too heavy, too deliberate. She set it down at the far edge of the table, as if distance alone might make it safer. Daniel's eyes followed her hands. His expression softened into something that wasn't quite understanding, but wasn't dismissal either. He sensed it too, maybe not the reason, but the unease. Clara took a picture of the watch box, capturing the logo, the shape, and the finish, then pulled out her phone to search. The results came quickly. She turned the screen toward him. The price was clear, $3,800. Daniel leaned back in his chair. "Your parents gave me a watch worth almost $4,000? "No," Clara said quietly. "They couldn't afford to." Her parents were not wealthy. She had been covering their bills for years without making it a spectacle. Their meals were simple, and their heating was sometimes neglected in winter. Her brother, Miles, had only recently moved out after years of drifting. None of them had the means, or the reason, to send something like this. Daniel gave a humorless laugh. "Maybe they love me so much they skipped paying for heat just to give me luxury timekeeping." Neither of them smiled. The air between them felt heavier than the watch box. Clara's mind churned with memories that now seemed sharper. Her father introducing a new food supplier for the charity she and Daniel ran, her parents' odd defensiveness when complaints began, the quiet sickness that had spread among those they served. 3 months earlier, Daniel had uncovered invoices that didn't match deliveries. Fresh meat was replaced with expired stock, canned goods of dubious origin, and vegetables without labels. People had gotten sick. One man had been hospitalized. When Daniel confronted her parents about the supplier, they had defended the company with a ferocity that made no sense. Her father insisted it was just exaggerated complaints. Her mother said canceling the contract would ruin relationships. The more they pushed back, the more Clara felt a truth hiding beneath their words. And now here it was in her kitchen, black velvet, polished steel, too much money for people who claimed they barely had enough for groceries. The next morning, the watch sat untouched, still swaddled in the tea towel. Daniel brewed coffee. Clara burned the toast and left it that way. Neither of them spoke much as they got into the car. The drive to the charity office was quiet, not with anger, but with the measured stillness of people preparing for a confrontation they couldn't avoid. Her parents were at their desks when they arrived, pretending to work. Clara walked straight past reception into the staff room, setting the watch box on the table. Daniel placed 2 sealed envelopes beside it. Her father frowned. "What's this?" "Open it," Clara said. Inside each envelope was a letter, formal, polite, and final. Immediate termination from their positions at the charity, 1 month's pay, and no further involvement. Her mother's face went pale. "You're firing us." "Yes," Clara said simply. Her father's voice sharpened. "We're your family." "Not anymore." He stared at her like she was speaking a language he didn't understand. "We've done nothing wrong." Clara pulled out her phone, showing them the watch listing. "Want to explain where this came from? You couldn't afford to fix your boiler last winter. I paid for that." They said nothing. Her father shrugged. Her mother muttered something about generosity. But when Clara pressed, when she asked again where the money came from, her mother slipped, mentioning they had only been trying to help Miles. The pieces fit together with cold precision. The supplier, the pressure, the defensiveness. The watch wasn't just a gift. It was a payment. Clara's voice hardened. "You put Daniel in danger. You put the charity in danger. And for what?" Her father's answer was cold. "Do you want to keep scraping by while people like that catering company make real money?" "No one died," he added. The silence after that was sharp enough to cut. Clara straightened. "I care about right and wrong. What you did was wrong. All of it. I want you to leave. Now." They left without slamming the door, the sound of their footsteps fading into the hall. Clara stood still, feeling the fragile quiet settle around her. For the first time in her life, she wasn't the daughter, they were the ones being told to go. She didn't yet know that this was only the first strike. That by the end of the week, Miles would show up at her door with threats that didn't sound like family at all. The rain had stopped by the time Evelyn reached her apartment, but the city outside still glistened under the pale glow of street lamps. Her clothes clung to her from the earlier downpour, and the air inside felt heavy with silence. She locked the door and leaned against it, her breathing uneven as the events of the evening replayed in her mind. Adrian's face, the urgency in his voice, the promise of answers, it all swirled together like an unsolved equation she was terrified to calculate. She moved toward the kitchen and poured herself a glass of water, but her hands trembled so violently she had to set it down before it spilled. Her phone lay on the counter, silent and dark. She half expected a message from Adrian, yet the screen remained empty. Pulling herself together, she changed into dry clothes and sat by the window. The streets below were quieter now, but the shadows between the buildings seemed to stretch and shift unnaturally. She had always been good at sensing when something was wrong. A gift, or maybe a curse, she'd never been able to explain. Tonight, that instinct was screaming. Just as she was about to turn away, a black sedan pulled up across the street. Its engine idled for a few moments before the headlights flicked off. A figure stepped out, tall and broad-shouldered, wearing a dark coat that seemed to swallow him whole. He didn't glance up at her building, but Evelyn had the uneasy feeling he already knew she was watching. Her phone buzzed suddenly, the vibration startling her. She grabbed it and saw a message from an unknown number. "Do not leave your apartment tonight. Do not trust anyone." Her pulse quickened. She tried calling back, but the line was disconnected. She stood frozen, torn between locking every bolt and running out into the night. Then came the knock. It was soft, deliberate, the kind of knock that carried its weight of menace. Evelyn's breath caught as she moved toward the door, each step echoing in her mind. She peered through the peephole but saw nothing. Just the hallway. Another knock, this time louder. She backed away slowly, her eyes darting to the phone again, wondering if she should call Adrian. But before she could, the door handle jiggled. Not forcefully, almost experimentally, as if whoever was on the other side was testing her reaction. And then silence. She waited, every nerve on edge, listening for footsteps. When she finally mustered the courage to look out the peephole again, the hallway was still empty. Yet a folded slip of paper had been slid under the door. Evelyn picked it up, her hands clammy. In sharp black ink, a single sentence was written. "You have until midnight to decide whose side you are on." The rest of the night passed in a haze of dread. She couldn't sleep, couldn't think clearly, and every sound was magnified in her mind. At 11:45 p.m., her phone lit up again, this time with a call from Adrian. "Evelyn, listen to me carefully." His voice was urgent, almost frantic. "They know about you now. You can't stay there. Pack only what you need, and meet me at the old rail yard in 20 minutes. She hesitated, torn between fear and the desperate trust she still clung to for him. "Adrian, what's going on? Who sent that note? What is this about?" "I'll explain when we're safe," he replied quickly. "But if you wait until midnight, it'll be too late. They'll choose for you." Her mind was spinning, but she found herself grabbing a small bag and stuffing it with essentials. She slipped on her coat, took one last glance around her apartment, and stepped into the hallway. The air outside was colder now, the moon half hidden by drifting clouds. She kept to the shadows as she made her way toward the rail yard, each step heavier than the last. The streets were too quiet, every flicker of movement sending her heart racing. When she finally reached the rusted gates, she spotted Adrian near an abandoned boxcar. He waved her over, his posture tense. But before she could reach him, headlights flared from the other side of the yard. A second car had arrived. Adrian's eyes widened, and in that instant, Evelyn knew whoever was in that car wasn't here to save her. The next morning, the world outside looked bright and ordinary, but inside Nadia felt the weight of unease pressing against her chest. She tried to focus on work, but the office felt colder, the walls closer. Every passing glance from her colleagues seemed sharper, more curious. It was as if they could smell the storm brewing in her life. At lunch, she met Arif at a quiet cafe tucked away in an old street. He was already seated, his coffee untouched, eyes scanning the door until he saw her. "You look tired," he said softly, his voice carrying genuine concern. "I barely slept," Nadia admitted, sliding into the seat opposite him. "There's more. My father's friend, Uncle Idris, called last night. He said he's been hearing strange things. Whispers that I've been involved in something illegal." Arif's brow furrowed. "That's ridiculous. Where would that even come from?" Nadia hesitated. "Someone's trying to ruin me. And I think it's connected to what I found in the documents." She took a deep breath. "Arif, there's money being moved through the company. Huge amounts that don't add up. And some of it's tied to overseas accounts." He leaned in. "Do you have proof?" "Yes," she whispered. "But if they know I have it, I'm done." A waiter brought their order, breaking the moment. They ate in tense silence until Arif finally said, "If you're right, you can't face this alone. We need a plan." That evening, back in her apartment, Nadia locked the door and pulled out the files again. She spread them across the dining table, each paper a piece of the puzzle. The deeper she went, the more her stomach churned. Dates, transactions, names she recognized, names she didn't. And one signature that stopped her cold, her own. Someone had forged it. Her phone buzzed with a message from an unknown number. "Stop digging, Nadia, or you'll regret it." She froze, her heartbeat thundering in her ears. The shadows in the room seemed to grow darker, pressing in from all sides. This was no longer just about the truth, it was about survival. The day of the gala arrived, and the ballroom gleamed with crystal chandeliers and polished marble floors. Sophia stood at the entrance in a deep emerald gown, her hair swept elegantly to one side, exuding quiet confidence. Tonight wasn't about revenge, it was about closure, and she intended to take it with dignity. Ethan spotted her first. His confident smirk faltered for just a fraction of a second before he composed himself. Patricia, standing beside him, clutched his arm tightly, the picture of false poise. The room hummed with whispers as people glanced between them, sensing the undercurrent. When the awards ceremony began, Sophia's name was called, not for recognition of her past work with Titan Dynamics, but for her groundbreaking new project at Horizon Innovators. She walked to the stage with steady steps, feeling the weight of every betrayal that had brought her here. As she accepted the award, she addressed the crowd. "In life, some doors close abruptly, slammed shut by those we thought we could trust. But every closed door pushes us to find a new one, often leading to places far greater than we imagined." The applause was genuine, resounding through the hall. Ethan's jaw tightened. Patricia looked away. After the ceremony, Sophia walked past them, pausing just long enough to meet Ethan's eyes. "You taught me the cost of loyalty," she said softly, not with bitterness, but with finality. Then she turned and walked toward the exit, where Alex, her new business partner, and perhaps something more, was waiting. As they stepped out into the cool night air, Sophia felt lighter than she had in years. She didn't need revenge to feel victorious. The greatest triumph was reclaiming her own story,